Dr. Anthony Harper, you're blessed to be with member of Knesset Simcha Rothman. Thank you for joining me today. And there are crucial issues regarding Israel's sovereignty over Judea, Samaria, also the Jordan Valley. And I've been connected with Republicans of overseas in Israel, and been very influential with, President Trump kind of leading the way in his win. The Republicans here in Israel so important. I think of the key members of Mark Zell and Ariel Sender and Mayan Yaakov, so I wanted to start being thankful for the Republicans here.
So first, the effort to promote the resolutions that we passed in the Knesset, that I pushed forward here in the Knesset, was really a shared effort. And Republican overseas in Israel were a key player in this effort. And you know that when you try to pass this kind of resolution, it's not only important that it will pass. It's important to the right kind of wording, that it will be heard overseas in the right way. So you need to consult with people what exact words you need to use in the resolution. You need to get a lot of people to come and vote, and that they will understand that they, as Knesset members, coming and voting is not making an international problem for Israel in the United States. So the connection and the oversight by the Republicans here in Israel was very important for that, and I think we wouldn't be able to achieve the 71 majority that we got on the resolution without this help, because a lot of people are when this kind of decisions are coming forward, they are cautious. They say how our friends will see it. It helped a lot, and I think that. This is the resolutions that we passed now, and the resolution we passed last year. And you have to remember, last year it was with the help of our friends, mostly in the Republican Party, against the policy of the Biden administration. We're talking when it was last July, President Trump was not in office. And to pass the resolution in a way saying no to two-state solution, full stop. And the resolutions that were passed a little bit before in February that said no to a Palestinian state on a unilateral basis, I think created a very strong alliance between all of Israel's friends overseas and here, to stand behind Israel on this important issue.
I mean, Israel is so important for our audience, for you to understand the importance of Israel's sovereignty over these lands, Judea, Samaria, the Jordan Valley, and so I know there's a lot at risk here about and how enforcement is going to play out, enforcing that sovereignty. I think the concern that related to that is about the takeover of land by the Palestinian Authority.
So it's exactly that. For many years, there was battle on the ground in Judea and Samaria between the Palestinian Authority and the State of Israel, and the State of Israel was acting where sometimes the hands of the State of Israel were tied, with the Obama administration and Biden administration and even Clinton administration. If you try to build the involvement of the State Department in every house you demolished, an illegal building built by the Palestinians or built even on state-owned land, Jewish settlers, what they called settlements, we called communities or towns, you couldn't build anything without getting a phone call from the Secretary of State, or sometimes from the White House, saying, "What did you do?" So we had a fight over the land, but the Palestinian Authority was winning because because they could do whatever they want. They can actually get away with murder. We know they got away with pay for slay, so they got away with building illegally all the time. And Israel was a sitting duck in this matter. So we're very thankful for the change that happened in this manner, that Israel can now apply sovereignty over the land, make sure that law-abiding citizens can build their houses, and the terrorists cannot use the void to build for their own purposes, to create a Palestinian state. And after October 7th, we all know what's coming from a Palestinian-controlled territory. And actually, we had a Palestinian state for all manner and purposes in Gaza. They did not use foreign humanitarian aid in order to feed the hungry. They did not use the schools from UNRWA to teach science. They used everything to create terror tunnels, to teach people to be jihadist, suicide bombers, or Nukhba terrorists. That's what they did with when they had the minimum sovereignty that they had. They used every bit of it in order to create the next war. And everything that we know on the Palestinian Authority and in Judea and Samaria, we know that wherever the state of Israel did not have a strong hold over the land, the terror just flew out of there. We remembered what happened. We remember what happened immediately after the Oslo Accords. There were thousands of casualties inside Israel from the terror that was promoted by the Palestinian Authority in the cities in Judea and Samaria, until we took over big parts of it. And we have to make sure never again. In order to make sure that never again, we have to apply Israeli law over Judea and Samaria and make sure that Israel is in control, because everywhere in the Middle East, it's not only in Judea and Samaria, not only in Gaza, everywhere in the Middle East, when Israel is not strong, you see what's happening. You see what's happening in Lebanon, you see what's happening in Syria, you see what's happening all around. And a terrible genocide happens now in Syria for the Druze. The world does not care, because it's not about caring for genocide or for hungry people. It's many countries in the world are aiming their maybe they're afraid of the Muslim voters, or for any other reason, or some would say anti-Semitism. I don't really care. They don't care about genocides. They don't care about hunger. They care to condemn Israel. And thank God that President Trump and the administration in the United States is not getting confused, know what is true and what is false, what is good and what is evil, and stand strong with the power of good and the power of truth. And for that we are thankful, and we thank God for that.
You know, connected to this Israel sovereignty issue, you touched on about the Palestinian state idea. For those of you who don't know, that there's been a lot in the news about the UK Prime Minister, and then France and Canada Prime Ministers that have been pushing for this Palestinian state, which seems to be in some way delusional in a way. It would take away Judea and Samaria. It would be putting a Palestinian state in the heartland of Israel. And this directly flies in the face of Israel's sovereignty over Judea and Samaria.
And it's, of course, and that's why I think the declaration that passed in the Knesset is very important, and it should be not only a declaration in the Knesset, it should be passed by the executive branch, by the cabinet, and make sure that it's the reality on the ground. Because when Israel will say very loud and clear, in very strong way, this is our land, and according to every precedent of international law, this is Israel's land. Palestinian state never existed. It's not an occupation of a Palestinian state, because a Palestinian state never existed. It's a land that was designated for the people of Israel, of course in the Bible, but even in more recent documents like the mandate, the British mandate, and the UN charter. And so it has to be very clear that this is part of the state of Israel. And then this, I don't have a better name for it than stupidity, because everyone understands that having a Palestinian state will mean one thing: more terror, more war, and at the end of the road, destruction of the state of Israel. It's not about compromise. The time for compromise has long ago gone. It's the people that are chanting in the streets of Britain and France and Australia and Canada, they don't chant, "We want a Palestinian state." They chant, from the river to the sea, Palestine would be free. And from the river to the sea includes, last time I checked, not only Judea and Samaria. It includes Tel Aviv, it includes, of course, Jerusalem, it includes the entire state of Israel. They seek the destruction of the state of Israel. And anyone who thinks that what someone is trying to destroy you, you're getting to any better situation if you give him half of what he wants, is wrong. It's never made any sense. If someone wants to destroy you, you either destroy him first or you kick him away. You do not let someone to get the first bite, because after he gets the first bite, he wants the second one and the third, and the destruction of the state of Israel. And there was never, ever anyone with any importance in the Palestinian Authority, the PLO, of course Hamas, or any other Arab leader that said, okay, I'm fine with the state of Israel, I just want this. Never, ever. They want the destruction of the state of Israel, and that's why we should never let them have the chance to do so.
How did your role play out in that Knesset vote? How did the legislation come about, and your role specifically in that?
So I am one of the chairs of the Land of Israel Caucus, which is promoting the sovereignty over Judea and Samaria, and building in Judea and Samaria, and not only in the entire state of Israel, but in the entire land of Israel. But of course, this is one of our key missions. And we pushed forward as the caucus. We pushed forward this resolution. We gathered enough signatures that needed. We created the political opportunities to pass it again, and we gathered 71 members of Knesset. It's actually coalition and opposition together. It's not about this Netanyahu's coalition. It's coalition and opposition together. The support was even bigger, and the most amazing thing is that even there were other group that voted for a different kind of sovereignty, but the same. They said also we need sovereignty. So it was 71, and then 6 or 7 other Knesset members. So in reality, of the support of sovereignty, it was almost like 80, which is 2/3 of the Knesset. And there were the only parties that were objecting to sovereignty were the terror-supporting Arab parties that sadly are in the Knesset. They are openly supporting terror. They never condemn Hamas. They openly call for attacks on IDF soldiers. Terrible things that they are in the Knesset, but they are here. They voted against. And sadly, on the decision, on the resolution on the sovereignty party, a Jewish party with 4 seats, which is in the far left, the Labour Party in Israel, is very small. In Israel, Baruch Hashem, with God's help, the majority of the people think in the right way. So only four members of the Knesset that were not part of those terror-supporting parties voted against the resolution. It means when we talked about the resolution last year, there were 80 Knesset members in support, and no one voted against it besides the terror-supporting parties. So we're talking about a broad consensus in Israel. So anyone who calls himself a friend of Israel cannot say, I am for two-state solution or I am against sovereignty, because the vast majority of the people of Israel and the elected officials of Israel say we need sovereignty and we need to make sure that there will never be a Palestinian state in Judea and Samaria. And that's, so all friends of Israel, we urge them, even in the decision, to support this resolution, to accept, to adopt in the respective parliaments similar resolutions saying the same thing. The land of Israel, supposed to be part of the state of Israel.
So in your role in this, where you...
So I offer this resolution to the plenum.
Okay.
As the chair of the Land of Israel Caucus.
Okay.
I put it forward and I put it to vote. It's on my name.
Okay. That's important for people to know. And you mentioned about Palestinian statehood. It impacts Israel's sovereignty, and you mentioned how there was an opportunity in Gaza for there to be a so-called Palestinian state, but that's been...
Instead of turning Gaza into what they call the Singapore of the Middle East, they had all the chances. President Trump said, you have this kind of real estate. You have a seafront real estate. You could have done amazing things with it. What have you done with it? You made terror tunnels and attacked innocent citizens. That's what you do. So yeah, you had your chance, and it's not the first time. They had the chance after the Oslo Accords. They had the chance after the disengagement from Gaza. They had the chance before the funding of the State of Israel. Every chance the Arabs in Israel had, they said, we are preferring to destroy our lives and to make sure that everyone is miserable, but never to recognize the idea that there is a Jewish state here called the State of Israel. So it's a war of from the side of the what called Palestinians. What they are saying all time and again, their aim is to the destruction of the State of Israel. That's what they are aiming at, and we should never give them the chance. We saw for a few hours on October 7th how Israel will look like if they have control. We saw what happened on October 7th. Never again.
Yeah, and you're correct to what you said about Israel's right to defend itself, and it is so. I hear that from the White House about Israel's right to defend itself. So never again that Israel's a nation, and you can defend yourself.
And I heard from key speakers in the Republican Party, not only but mainly most of them are from the Republican Party, saying exactly that, saying Israel should have the support to do whatever it takes to make sure that this threat is eliminated. When the U.S. was under way less threat in the past, nothing stopped the U.S. and good for you in the United States that you did not stop until the threat was eliminated. When Britain was under this kind of threat, they did not stop until the threat was eliminated. There is no justification of telling Israel to stop before Hamas is eliminated and before we make sure that Israel is sovereign in the land that is much needed for its defense. And also, it's not only a defense issue, it's also an issue of justice. Because this is our land. When we are called Jews and a Jewish state based on the Hebrew word Judea. To say Israel will be without Judea means you take away the soul of, it's like to say you have United States without the Liberty Bell in Philadelphia, or without Washington D.C., or without the mainland. You don't even, you know what? Texas is new. Take the first 13 places. If you take away that from the U.S., what will happen? You would say that's the core of the U.S. U.S. is a new country compared to Israel. We have 3,000 years of history. Take away Judea from the Jews, it does not make any sense. And this is exactly why they are fighting with us on those lands. This is exactly the reason, because they want us not to be here at all. It's not a dispute to fix the border. It's a dispute on the reason that the State of Israel exists. The State of Israel exists here because this is the land of Israel. And they're trying to kick us out from here because they're trying to kick us out from existence. And we should never let them do it.
So what do you see happening in Gaza now that Israel, as we've been talking about, has the right to defend itself? Israel is going to be in Gaza for a short amount of time to establish some stability there, but first, not to take over, of course.
So first, Israel should make sure that no weapon whatsoever, that Gaza is demilitarized. Whatever it takes. If it can happen in 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. That's one thing. Second, and I think it's the minimum moral demand, is that any power that has any control over Gaza in the future, if it's State of Israel or other forces, I would never accept. If you would tell me that there is one neighborhood in New York City or in any city in the United States or in any other place in the world, the Jews cannot live there just because they're Jews, I would tell you this place has no moral justification to exist. Jews should be able to live anywhere in the world they want, and definitely in the land of Israel. So if there will be any power that will rule Gaza Strip, that in its basic documents, in its key, in its mission of existence, it says no Jews, it should never have the power to be there in control. Palestinian Authority does not qualify. In the Palestinian Authority today, it's punishable by death to sell land to Jew. We should never accept it. This place should not exist. Shouldn't be any place in the world that has this rule, that if you sell a land to a Jew, it's punishable by death. We accepted it in Palestinian Authority. It was a moral tragedy for the State of Israel, for the US, for anyone who supported the Oslo Accords, to have this entity of Palestinian Authority in existence that will say in its laws to sell land to a Jew is punishable by death. It's the same law books that say if you kill Jews you get money, pay for slay. We should never accept it. It's immoral. And we shouldn't do it because it's immoral before any calculation you will do based on interest, on political interest or foreign affairs or security. First thing, you don't do it because it's immoral. And then count the other issues. And so anyone who will be in control in Gaza, we have to make sure that Jews can live in Gaza. Because if you have a place that Jews cannot live there, that's Nazi Germany. And it will turn into Nazi Germany very fast, as we saw.
What would your final words be regarding the rise of anti-Semitism, Jew hatred around the world? What would you say to our audience about that issue?
So we should never accept it also. It's anti-Semitism, and we know where it led the world in the past, should not be tolerated in any way. No, you should never give excuses for anti-Semites. You should never say, oh, it's okay, they did not mean it. Anti-Semitism is a disease, and that's the way you should treat it. And governments around the world who send ambiguous messages are aiding and abetting anti-Semitism. We saw that the second that Trump got into power, we saw in the US a drop in the acts of anti-Semitism in campuses and stuff like this, because they understood it's not accepted. And when it was tolerated by the administration, it went forward. So to make a clear moral standing against it by the leadership is not nice to have. It's a key element of fighting it. And I think that many leaders of the world today are not doing anything to stop it. And there is a direct connection when in a country that says we will recognize a Palestinian state, which means we will accept the fact that Israel will have a Nazi Germany in its backyard, to the rise of anti-Semitism in their streets. And if they think it will stop only with the Jews, they're 100% wrong. It will start with the Jews. It will not end with the Jews. And as they say, the West is next. They are after eliminating Western civilization and Western values. And they will do it. And they will not stop. If you don't stop them when they're after the Jews, they will continue to other groups.
Well, God bless you all with wisdom. One day there will be peace, and hopefully that will be very soon.
Thank you
for sharing.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.